Hey, deserving listeners, Vanderpump Rules. Let's watch.
I honestly feel like I only have you, my parents, and my sister to have like my best interest at heart. And even with you, it's questionable.
Yeah, well, that's the consequences of cheating and lying and deceiving and harming, is that a lot of people aren't going to want to be your friend anymore or want to support you. You don't deserve to be attacked, but that's consequences for your actions as a couple. And now she is bringing up this other element of, I don't even know if I can trust you. Yeah, I don't know if she's getting at this, but she would be rational to say, I don't know if I can trust you because you cheated on Ariana with me. I mean, yeah, you were with me, but you lied for 8 months to Ariana. You're a liar. And so how am I supposed to trust you? Also, you lied to your previous partner to be with Ariana. I think we heard that even on the show. Someone told me so. So I don't even know if I can trust you. Yeah, this is why you don't engage in these kinds of relationships, because there's so many questions. Now, is Tom inherently untrustworthy? No, absolutely. He can make choices moving into the future that will not be of this ilk of lying. But it raises a lot of questions, right? Especially the way Tom has been acting post it coming out, that he seems to believe that it was all justified. He's avoiding even acknowledging the lies that he committed.
It's like, am I really going to put my life on the line for someone that would cheat on someone that they love so much? Because then that makes me think that you would be capable of doing that to me.
Yeah, exactly. And this is why you don't do these sorts of things. Now, earlier on, I'm guessing the two of them in their clandestine meetups didn't have to have these conversations because they could section out. This is another reason why infidelity will happen, is that it is conducive to individuals that avoid and distract. They can create this little fantasy world that is automatically protected from the outside. You know, it's possible that even being on a show, a reality show, could have been a factor. Not that we would blame the show per se, but, you know, you can imagine Tom, he even kind of alluded to this earlier, that for many years his relationship hasn't been going well and he didn't know what to do. And maybe if he wasn't on the show, he would have just broken up with Ariana. But because of the pressure to stay together or to stay on the show or something, he prolonged the relationship. Again, it's not the show's fault, but could be a factor. And then the two of them might have craved not only each other, but also a place away from the cameras, a place to themselves, a place that's truly private, that they could just be themselves. And maybe that's what drove them together partially. I don't know. That's kind of a long shot.
I'd never do this if there wasn't something here.
I can't predict the future. Who's to say? Like, maybe things will work out with Raquel and I, maybe they won't. But when I kissed Raquel, I felt hope. I felt like, wait a minute, you're not washed up.
What? Wait, what? The other thing he's saying is that he kissed her and he just knew. And I would not bank one's life on the way a kiss feels. So that is not wise. Now, maybe, you know, love is magical. It's impossible to put into words, so maybe something did happen there. But if he were a friend or a client and I heard this, I'd be like, okay, yeah, you felt something, but you don't know what that means. That could have meant a lot of things. It could have meant it's a great kiss. It could mean that you're compatible physically as kissers. It could have been that you haven't been kissed like that in a while. It could mean that you had a crush on her, or you had a lot of alcohol that night and were euphoric about a lot of things, because that's what alcohol will do for a lot of people. It could mean a lot of things. It doesn't necessarily mean that the two of you are soulmates and compatible for the rest of your lives. You've been there before. You've had that feeling before. You might not be able to remember that. It's one of the tragedies of our lives sometimes, is that, I mean, there's pros and cons, that we might completely fall in love with someone and have just overwhelming love and attraction and what, you know, just all those feelings. And then we have a long-term relationship. It starts to decline. We start to fight. We break up, and we don't necessarily remember what it was in the beginning. We reframe it. Everyone will. I wasn't really in love with that person, or it wasn't meant to be, you know, this next person that I'm falling in. This is new. I've never felt. So the con is we're not given an opportunity to learn from our mistakes, which he might be experiencing. The pro is that we are able to consider ourselves like love virgins in a way and feel like it's more special, especially culturally, because all the rom-coms are set, I don't know if there's a mainstream rom-com where someone's like, you know what? I'm completely in love with you. And yeah, I've been completely in love 5 other times in my life, and those were all wonderful experiences, and this is just like that, and this is great, let's get married. A rom-com wouldn't be like that, right? Because in our culture, we don't hold that up. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just how we frame it. And so it denies us this opportunity to learn from the past, but it does slot in with culture and give us an opportunity to feel like the current relationship we're in is special in some way. And maybe it is. There's no way for us to know because it just has to do with feelings and vibe, and you don't necessarily remember what it's like, and even if you did, how do you compare those things? Anyway.
Your best days aren't behind you. Maybe they're just beginning.
I just feel like it turned.
So that is a narcissistic thing of they have a grandiose point of view, a superior. They constantly need to be running on the treadmill of look at me, I'm better, and everything about me is better. And some people's narcissism will manifest in their partner, not always, but they will need they believe that their partner reflects on their value as a human being. And these narcissistic people are suffering. They are in a constant state of suffering, and their narcissistic supply is an effort to run away. And I say treadmill because they're running in place. They're not actually running away from their self-hatred. They're just distracting themselves with the treadmill and the narcissistic supply. And so for these individuals that have the type of narcissism that manifests in their partner, they will really focus on making sure that their partner is, makes them look good. So if you're a heterosexual man in our culture, if you have a young, attractive, sought-after woman of a particular body type and skin color, then it makes you look like a more valuable man. Looks like, if someone loves you like that, you must be an awesome guy or whatever it is that you're going for. Or you want the nice sports car because it makes you look like you're important or something. Or you talk about how successful you are, or you talk about how awesome you are at particular hobbies or your job, or you work out incessantly because you want to make sure that you put out there that you're superior to other men, because desperately trying to run away from self-hatred and also just the abyss. People with severe narcissistic personality, when they look inside themselves, they don't see anything. They're completely empty on the inside because they were denied the ability to connect with themselves when they were young. Anyway. So that's another option. I don't have a lot of data to go. As I was saying earlier, if he did have moderate to severe narcissistic personality, I think we'd be seeing different things. It could be a mild case of it or something. But another question that I think one of the very first questions that I got from people about, because as this was happening in real time and it was being aired, I was starting to get a lot of questions about Vanderpump Rules. And one of the questions that I remember getting early on was about midlife crisis. They were asking me about, we believe that Tom might be going through a midlife crisis, that he is 40 now, and so he's starting to have that anxiety, and as a way of trying to regain his youth and relevance, he is dumping his older wife and girlfriend and trying to get a younger one so that he can feel young and he can tap into his youth again. And there's nothing inherently unhealthy about that. Obviously can be very unhealthy, and certainly I would not say that this represents any sort of health if that is what's happening. But we all do this, whether it's a companion, a romantic partner, or a friend. We will be attracted to them for a variety of reasons, one of which is the kind of life that you can build together. And you might meet someone that likes to travel a lot, or they're a commercial airline pilot, and you're thinking, oh my God, I love you, and we get cheap or free tickets to fly anywhere in the world. That'll be great. So there's nothing wrong with it. And similarly, one could fall in love with someone that's younger because you want to tap into that youth again. You want to have those elements back in your life. I'm guessing the internet wouldn't say that that's ever healthy, but there's nothing scientifically wrong with that. And it seems very analogous to other acceptable reasons why someone might want to be with someone. So it's not inherently problematic, but it absolutely can be. And so midlife crisis, very briefly, is a construct in our society that doesn't really pan out when we actually look at human beings through empirical research. There's this notion that particularly every man will go through a midlife crisis around 40. And I forget the history of the notion. I think it emerged in the 70s or 80s. It's not universal by any means. But the idea that human beings will go through crises regarding how old they are or different developmental moments in their life is supported by the science. But there's no universality to it because everybody's circumstance is different. And might we say that some heterosexual men will go through what we call a midlife crisis? Yeah, absolutely. In the same way that the 5 stages of grief are not supported by science. People do not go through universally the 5 stages of grief, but some do. Their experience just coincides with that model. And listen to all my deep dives on grief and all that for more information on the research. But so for people that go through a midlife crisis, for this small subset of heterosexual men, they are faced with a lot of things typically. One is that they're realizing they're getting older and their body will start to decline in all likelihood. They're also definitely losing their youth. They're also at a point where career-wise, often now they have the freedom to spend more money and live a more lavish lifestyle, buying the red sports car they always wanted, traveling more, or doing this sort of. They want to finally, maybe they struggled throughout their entire life and they always felt like they were playing second fiddle to other men. And now that they have more power and control and more know-how, they actually they don't have to play second fiddle to other men. They can be that guy at the club who has the right sunglasses and has the right clothes and can pay for things. And maybe it's just one night of a midlife crisis, and maybe it's 10 years of a midlife crisis. Yeah, certainly that can happen. There are healthy ways or innocuous versions of this midlife crisis. Like your dad buys a red sports car that he always wanted, and it's pretty clear that he's going through a mini midlife crisis. Nothing harmful about that. And there are harmful versions of the midlife crisis.
Maybe they're just beginning.
I just feel like it turned out so horribly wrong.
He's referring to maybe an ongoing feeling that he had that his life was over. He's in a band. I mean, so I guess I can kind of relate, not really obviously, but I'm 52. So there was a time when I turned 40 and I'm in a band. I'm from Seattle from the early 90s. Everyone was in a band in Seattle then, and I'm no different. And so over the years, there have been different phases to my expectations regarding my musical career. And when I was a teenager in my early 20s, I had this question like, maybe I'll make it in pop music, in rock music. And it was at least conceivable based on my age, right? But as I got older, I started to not see very many other people my age making it in the music industry, right? There was a couple of people, like Ben Folds was older and made it. And I remember thinking, oh, maybe I still have a chance. That just shows you that I was paying attention. Now, I never thought that I would actually make it in the music industry, really, because I don't have the talent. And two, understand that you have to be in the right place at the right time, and you have to have talent. And so I can relate in a way, because when I was in my 40s, young 40s particularly, people thought I was in my 20s. And so when I would play in clubs and all the audience was in their 20s, I looked like I was one of them. And so they accepted me as a viable entertainer on the stage, if that makes any sense. And as I've gotten older, I don't look 25 anymore. And so, it's, I don't care, but it is a question, right? It does provide context. It's, when I'm 92 and if I'm still around and I'm still able to be in a band, I'm not going to have this delusion that somehow anyone younger than 65 is going to want to come see me play. You know what I mean? Just because of the way things are. I don't know. Maybe if you're 92 and you're still in a band, you've come full circle and people think that you're adorable on stage. I don't know. Anyway, so, I can kind of relate that you turn 40 and you start seeing the beginning of the decline, or at least the end of your relevancy, the end of your youth, right? And so you have to reckon with that. And there are healthy ways of wrestling with that. And given our society, and as a man, it's much easier for me to wrestle with. I see a lot of women struggle with it more than I do because of the pressures that are put on women. But I think for everyone, it's a thing. And so I remember, going through that. So I think that's maybe what it's referring to. It's like, I'm not all washed up. And I'll say, as a part of this specifically, because I know that he's in a band as well, and he's obviously on a reality TV show, that there was a moment when I was in my late 40s, early 50s, and I was performing on stage. And by the way, my band, the other guys are great. I'm the massive weak link in the band. They're all amazingly talented. I'm just kind of a natural leader. And so I think that's what I bring to the table. I organize well. I'm the one who schedules everything. And and so that's my contribution. But anyway, so when we're on stage and people were enjoying the show, there's a part of me that's like, okay, maybe I still kind of have it. maybe I'm still, at least in the mix. And of course, it feels good to know that you're still around. Now, of course, in a better society, at every age, we would feel like we were relevant and we would feel like we matter, right? We would feel like we could be respected by a different set of people. But so there's that question. And maybe I should really try to internalize that a little bit. And I think I just did a little bit as I'm talking it out loud.
We
up.
up.
Oh, man.
Coulda, shoulda, woulda. But
Woulda, coulda, shoulda.
woulda, coulda, shoulda. But these are the learning experiences, right? If we were to do it over again.
I mean, obviously, I would do a lot of things over again.
Yeah. Me too.
Okay. What are those things? Normally, I would think they're obviously referring to breaking up with Ariana before engaging in the relationship. But I don't know. I haven't heard that overtly from either one of them. Okay, we're learning that she turned off her phone and was not seen or heard from for weeks, which is totally fine. She wanted a break, makes sense. And I'm guessing attacked online. I don't know when it became public, but I'm guessing it was public around this. I think that's what happened, right? It became public, and then I think the production team was like, "Oh, they found out about it," and and then they started to film it. I think that's how it worked out. Anyway, so I think Raquel, in all likelihood, took a break because she was being attacked, or she knew she was going to get attacked. And so by the world, which is not okay, doxed, swatted, all the crap, right? Threatened, at the very least ridiculed and put down. And women particularly get it bad online, make no joke about it. So I'm guessing particularly if you loved the Tom-Ariana relationship, right? A lot of people might have gone after Raquel for that. But anyway, so it might have been an absolutely justifiable and self-preservation act for her to do this. Okay, well, let's adjourn there. And everyone, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.